Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. In the long history of China, the Qing Dynasty, as the last feudal dynasty, witnessed a process of decline filled with tragic overtones. The destinies of the last three emperors of the Qing, Emperor Tongzhi, Emperor Guangxu, and Emperor Xiantong, were not only dramatic but also shrouded in many mysteries. These three young emperors, whether in their personal lives, political ideals, or struggles in power struggles, stood out dramatically against the historical backdrop. In particular, none of them were able to leave behind descendants. A mystery that remains unresolved in history. Here, we will discuss this topic together. The story of the Imperial Palace at the end of the Qing Dynasty is like a complex and intricate painting, with Empress Dowager Cixi undoubtedly being the most critical figure. This woman, who held power for decades at the end of the Qing Dynasty, had a profound impact on the fate of the three emperors. Her decisions and preferences directly shaped the destinies of Emperor Tongzhi, Emperor Guangxu, and Emperor Xiantong, and subtly influenced whether they would leave descendants, ultimately leading to the extinction of the Qing imperial bloodline. According to historical records, the selection of a consort for Emperor Tongzhi caused quite a stir. Emperor Tongzhi initially favored Alut, hoping to marry her, but Empress Dowager Cixi had a special affection for Fucha and insisted that Fucha be made empress. In this royal struggle involving both power and emotions, ultimately, with the support of Empress Dowager Cixi, Alut was made empress, seemingly fulfilling Emperor Tongzhi's wish. However, this victory was only superficial, and in reality, it marked the beginning of another tragedy. Empress Dowager Cixi did not stop her plans there. She still did not allow Emperor Tongzhi and Alut to truly live together, instead arranging him to stay with Fucha. This forced interference not only failed to make Fucha occupy a place in Emperor Tongzhi's heart but also triggered his rebellious feelings. As a result, Emperor Tongzhi's heart was filled with contradictions and dissatisfaction. He began to resist entering any consort's palace, using this as a form of protest against Empress Dowager Cixi's arrangements. Emperor Tongzhi's actions caused an uproar in the palace. The emperor's refusal to favor the harem was a huge crisis for any royal family, as it directly affected the continuation of the imperial bloodline. However, for Emperor Tongzhi, it was not just about the continuation of the bloodline. It was also about sticking to his personal feelings and will. In this way, he expressed his inner struggle and showcased his helplessness as an emperor in the face of his authoritarian mother. In the loneliness and indifference of the inner palace, Emperor Tongzhi found no solace for his soul. He longed to escape all of this and seek a different way of life. Thus, every night, Emperor Tongzhi would quietly disguise himself and sneak out of the forbidden city to explore the flower and willow alleys in the capital. There, he tried to fill the emptiness and loneliness inside him in a different way. However, this indulgent lifestyle ultimately led to serious consequences for Emperor Tongzhi. Due to frequent indulgence in these flower and willow alleys, he unfortunately contracted venereal disease, for which there was almost no effective treatment at the time. Initially, it might have been a mild discomfort, but due to the emperor's sense of shame and dignity, he did not seek help from the imperial doctors. As the illness progressed, the symptoms of the disease worsened. Emperor Tongzhi continued to conceal his illness, unwilling to let the outside world know, especially as an emperor. This illness was a great shame to him, which prevented him from receiving timely treatment. The venereal disease, like an invisible knife, quietly eroded his body. Emperor Tongzhi gradually lost his ability to manage state affairs and even found daily life increasingly difficult. In an era with limited medical resources, the disease ultimately drained the young emperor's vitality, and he passed away at the age of just 19. His death not only marked the tragic end of his personal fate but also the end of an era for the Qing imperial family. More importantly, because Emperor Tongzhi left no descendants, the Qing imperial bloodline faced the danger of extinction, casting a shadow over the future of the country. Next, the emotional world of Emperor Guangxu was equally intertwined with the struggle for power, which caused his personal happiness to become a casualty. In particular, his marriage arrangements and union with Empress Longyu were clearly an embodiment of Empress Dowager Cixi's control over the harem. Some historical records indicate that, in his youth, Emperor Guangxu had deep feelings for consort Zheng. Not only was she smart and beautiful, but she also shared a profound spiritual connection with him, and their relationship grew increasingly deeper. However, this relationship was strongly opposed by Empress Dowager Cixi. Her discontent, beyond personal preference, was rooted in political concerns. As consort Zheng's influence grew, Empress Dowager Cixi feared that she might pose a threat to her control over Emperor Guangxu and the entire Qing dynasty. Thus, Cixi's displeasure eventually escalated into extreme suppression of consort Zheng. Not long after a series of political struggles and personal attacks, consort Zheng was brutally murdered. And this incident became one of the tragic court events in the late Qing dynasty. The death of consort Zheng was a huge blow to Emperor Guangxu. He lost his only spiritual support in the palace and fell into complete loneliness and despair. Emperor Guangxu's life gradually came to an end under the shadow of Empress Dowager Cixi. Some historians even believe that Emperor Guangxu's death was not natural, but rather, Empress Dowager Cixi poisoned him to end his life in order to solidify her absolute control over the political situation. It is worth mentioning that the story of Emperor Xiantong, Puyi, is the most dramatic chapter in the history of the late Qing dynasty. Puyi ascended the throne at just 3 years old and witnessed the fall of the dynasty at the age of 6. His life seemed destined to be tightly intertwined with the torrent of history from the very beginning. At this age, while other children were still in their parents' arms enjoying a carefree childhood, Puyi had already shouldered the burden of an entire empire. However, the fall of the Qing dynasty was beyond Puyi's control, and all he could do was passively endure this monumental historical change. For Puyi, even if he had descendants, he was destined not to inherit the glory of past emperors, as the Qing royal family no longer held any political power. In fact, it could be said that the continuation of the Qing imperial family had lost all meaning in that era. Though Puyi's health might have been better than the previous 2 emperors, his growth process was equally filled with turmoil. His early life undoubtedly bore the deep imprint of Empress Dowager Cixi. Although she had passed away by the time Puyi was 3, many of the systems and arrangements she had set in place during her lifetime still profoundly affected his life and education. According to historical records, living in the Forbidden City, a golden cage, Puyi's daily life was almost entirely arranged for him. From morning till night, his studies and activities were meticulously planned, with every detail aimed at shaping him into an ideal Qing emperor. However, in the historical context of the fall of the Qing dynasty, this seemed increasingly ironic. The education Puyi received was strict, but it had lost its practical meaning, as the empire no longer existed. Puyi's marriages were more based on political and family considerations than personal wishes. After the fall of the Qing dynasty, Puyi's status and position changed dramatically. He went from a powerless emperor to a puppet of others. Later, despite marrying multiple times, these unions lacked any true emotional foundation and were more a fulfillment of his royal duties and obligations. As some historians have commented, the fact that the last 3 emperors of the Qing dynasty had no heirs was a portent, symbolizing that the fate of the Qing Empire had reached its end. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.